Let's go over some concept 40 problems for this teacher talk, and that is it's adding and subtracting rational expressions. So remember your steps that first we're going to factor all parts. We're going to then make a common denominator. Third, we're going to add and subtract the numerators, putting the numerators all over one common denominator, and then we'll simplify. This also just takes some examining of parts of the problem, and you have to make some decisions. So number one, we've got 11 halves plus 20 over 10x. So there's no factoring that we can do, but there is some simplifying in that second expression. And I'm keeping my eye on the denominators because I also want to make a common denominator. So what I notice is I'll just rewrite 11 halves, but if I divide my 20 and my 10 both by 5, then I get 4 over 2x. Now I can easily make a common denominator. So my common denominator will be 2x. I need one of each from all of my denominators. So with my first rational, all I'm missing in the denominator is an x. So I'm going to multiply top and bottom by that. And so I'll have 11x over 2x plus 4 over 2x. Now that we have common denominators, we can go ahead and add those numerators. And there's nothing to combine, so we just set them next to each other all over our one denominator. There's nothing to simplify, and so we just go ahead and put a restriction on our domain. And so we don't want any values for x that would make our denominator 0. So we have to say that x cannot equal 0, because if we multiply that by 2, that would give us 0. All right, so number 2, we're subtracting. So first thing is look for any factoring that you can do, and I see factoring that we can do in the first denominator and the second denominator actually. So we're looking for two numbers that multiply to give us negative 18 and add to give us 3. So that's 6 and negative 3. So I'll rewrite my first denominator with those two factors, and then my second denominator is a difference of squares. So that would be x plus 3 times x minus 3. Now I'm going to carefully examine each of my rationals separately just to see if there's any simplifying I can do that would help me. And in my second one, notice that we can divide out our x plus 3's. So that leaves us with 1 on the top, and I'll go ahead and write that, over x minus 3. Now let's build our common denominator. So in the left denominator, we need to have an x plus 6 and an x minus 3, and for our second denominator, it's just x minus 3. So that common denominator of x plus 6 times x minus 3 will do it for us. So since that is our denominator for our first rational, we'll just rewrite that rational. Now the second one, we have to multiply the top and the bottom by what we're missing for our common denominator, which is x plus 6. All right, now we have common denominator, so we're ready to combine our numerators all over one denominator. So we will have x plus 5. Well, there's our common denominator, and then x plus 5 minus x, and then I have to distribute that negative, minus 6. And now let's just clean up the numerator. So our x's subtract out, and 5 minus 6 is negative 1. So our final simplified rational is negative 1 over x plus 6 times x minus 3. And we need to restrict negative 6, which would make that first expression in our denominator 0, and positive 3.